Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am sharing another entry for the current Fawnatics challenge, which is make the sentiment a star. So for this card I am only using this tiny stamp set year 10 from Fawn, as well as the Scripty birthday to create my sentiment. So first of all, I'm starting with stamping out this cactus using antique linen distress ink onto Strathmore Bristol Smooth because I am going to do some watercoloring using my distress inks. So for this lovely image I am using brushed corduroy, peeled paint and crushed olive. So as I prefer doing, I am taking an acrylic block, a paper towel for underneath, and I am just smooshing my distress inks on top of this block so that I can use it as a paint. And then I am taking my paintbrush, and the way I do this, it's not something like an exact science, but this works for me. I just take a really big amount of the ink without barely any water. I add this to my image there where I want some shadows to be or where I want the lines to stand out a bit more. And I just keep adding layers and layers. And I just drag it out with a damp paintbrush each time again. And I keep doing this until I'm happy with the shadows created, with the depth of the image. And I just continue like this. Normally I stick to one color while doing this because depending on the amount of layers you have different gradients of the same color, which makes it beautiful in my opinion. But for the cactus I used a combination of crushed olive and peeled paint, which just blows my mind. These two colors work perfectly together. The peeled paint balances out the crushed olive. In my opinion, crushed olive is a really bright and joyful green, but then the peeled paint is a bit more realistic. And so the combination of the two just match made in heaven, in my opinion. So I just keep going over and over my image until I'm happy with the depth created. And yeah, for the rest of the coloring I will put on some music and I will be back afterwards. So now I can move on to my panel. So therefore I took that tiny flower from the stamp set and I'm just going to randomly stamp it out on top of my panel using antique linen, and then I can do some watercoloring on these images as well. So for the coloring of these flowers I decided to take one of my favorite rose colors from the distress inks, as well as distress oxide inks, but I'm not using those. And that's the Victorian Velvet. I must admit, since this year, this is truly one of my favorite colors. I use it all the time. Really lovely. It's not that bright, but it's also not dark. It's just perfect, and it's soft, and that's important. So I have decided to leave all the coloring of these flowers in this video, and I must admit this took the longest time ever because it's so tiny and you have to wait for the different elements to dry before you can go to another element of the flower, because it's all so near to each other. So as you can see here, I am leaving that middle leaf just white to let those others dry, and then I can go back in, and then there is another layer that I wanted to add. So it took a while. and I could have sped this through more or just even skipped a bit of the coloring. I decided to leave it in. If you're not interested in seeing all these flowers being colored in, and later on I will zoom out again so that you can see the whole ID. If you're not interested in that, I can understand that. Then I suggest you skip to minute 10.5 ish, and then you will see the rest of the card without seeing all the coloring of these same flowers each time again. But yeah, I'm just going, and I tried not to rush so that the subtle idea of these flowers was kept intact. And so for the rest of the coloring, I will put on some music again. I hope you enjoy this, otherwise just skip a bit, and I will be back after all the coloring is done. So now for the card and the birthday and the cactus, I colored in. The thing I didn't want was to have any of the two cover the other one. So I didn't want the birthday covering my cactus. I didn't want the cactus to cover the birthday. So I decided to stamp that cactus once more, partially on the bee of birthday, so that I could color that as well. And this way the cactus is partially lifted a bit, which I really like. Didn't know whether it was going to turn out good, but this was my intention, the way it looks in a few minutes. Yeah, so I stamped it out using the antique linen again, and I tried to match the coloring of my image as much as possible on the bee as well. So that's also why I didn't clean my acrylic block yet, because I still needed some of those colors. So So now that that's done, or almost done, I compared the birthday on my background with the idea in my head, and then I figured that the birthday was still white and my background was mostly also white. So I decided that I was going to add a bit of Victorian velvet to the rest of the birthday to let it pop a bit more from this panel. So therefore I took a larger paintbrush, just went roughly over the birthday, also on the tittle, and yeah, I didn't try to smoothen anything out. I wanted some texture as well, so sometimes I went back over the birthday with less of water and just made it a bit rougher from appearance. And I'm just going like a crazy person, but I'm speeding it through quite a bit also, so just made sure that everywhere where there was white I added some pink. So now onto gluing my birthday onto another one. So I cut it out twice to create some more depth, and I'm just going to glue them together using some liquid glue. So next up I laid that birthday on top of my cactus, and then I realized that the pink of the birthday was clashing with the white edge that the die cut leaves on the edge of the image. So I decided to add some Victorian velvet to that as well. And then when I laid them together, it was just running smoothly over into each other with all the pinks. So I was really happy with that. Next up, I laid it to my panel, and then I was thinking, and while I'm looking actually right now and I'm recording everything, I think it would work as well like this. But at the time, so yesterday, when I was creating this card, I thought it was too white, so I just added that Victorian velvet to the edge of this panel to create some more depth. I didn't want to cover this whole panel, but just the edges and softening it more towards the rest of the card, just to let it pop a bit more. And when I was finished with the blending, I added my cactus to the birthday and then the birthday to the panel. And the only thing left to do was to figure out how I was going to integrate the rest of the sentiment to this card. So for the sentiment, I had to use all the sentiments strips, or however you want to call them, from this stem set. I first thought that I would have enough with the Hope Pure and then On Point, but there is also the Is from the sentiment that I still had to add. So I'm going to do a bit of masking. If you would prefer it, you can also snip the stem set apart, so do a bit of surgery. I just cannot take it, so I'm not doing that. I am always leaving my stems as they are. Yeah, prefer masking. So therefore I'm using some purple tape, and so you add the purple tape, you ink it up, you remove the purple tape, and then you can stamp it out. There has been a ton of times where I forgot to remove the purple tape and then went too quick, and then all of a sudden my stamp was on there and the whole card was ruined. So just take your time, don't rush it, and don't forget to remove the purple tape. Also adding a smiley face on the cactus, and then this panel is finished. So I'm just adding this onto a card base, and then I call this card finished. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and the end result, of course. If you did, you can always give this video a thumbs up. I would truly appreciate that. If you have any questions, you can always leave them down below. I am still wondering whether I made the right choice by adding that ink blending on the edges of my panel, so if you have an opinion about that, you can always leave it down below. I am really curious if you would have left it white or if you would have added the ink blending as well. So that's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm also hoping to see you back next time. Bye!